Coming up on Talking Points, former President Donald Trump targeted in another apparent assassination attempt yesterday. What we know about the second attack in the past few months.
Plus, reaction to the first face-off between Trump and Harris, new fallout from the baseless claims made on the debate stage of migrants eating cats and dogs.
And the forced sale of TikTok passed by Congress in April is heading to court. What this means for the app's fate. All that and more. Talking Points starts right now.
Our protective methodologies, and there's a lot of tactical assets in place, things that have been put in place as a result of.
Former President Donald Trump targeted in an apparent assassination attempt yesterday afternoon. Welcome into Talking Points. I'm Jake Morel.
And I'm Luke Radel. It's the second time Trump has been targeted in 2 months, and we're getting new details tonight on the suspect. For that, we turn to Talking Points analyst Harrison Calder. Harrison, good evening.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me on. The FBI announced that former President Trump was the target of an alleged assassination attempt yesterday. A Secret Service agent 1 hole ahead of the 45th president at Trump International Golf Club noticed an AK weapon sticking out of a fence. The suspect fled from the bushes to his car when the agent engaged. The suspect, now in custody, was identified as Ryan Wesley Ruth, a 58-year-old man who was a supporter turned critic of Trump. Routh was a criminal. He has a criminal record prior to this incident, including a felony charge in 2002 for possessing a mass weapon of destruction. And Ruth also mentioned in his self-published book back in 2023 that he at one point supported the former president, but since he has changed his stance. Routh at times has taken to social media to write derogatory terms and messages towards the former president. And this has included asking Elon Musk for a rocket so that he could load it with a warhead for Putin's Black Sea Mansion bunker to end him. Routh has showed major support for Ukraine in their war against Russia. He's even gone to Kyiv at points to help recruit foreign soldiers and often contacted the International Legion. It's been now 65 days since former President Trump's assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. And Trump then was the first president to be shot since Ronald Reagan in 1981. Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe took to the stage today to speak on how the Secret Service has handled this situation and the protection of both former and current presidents.
We constantly evaluate based on threat. And yesterday what we show is that our agents and our protective methodologies, and there's a lot of tactical assets in place, things that have been put in place as a result of what happened 60 days ago, those elements are working, and that demonstrates the redundancies that we have.
Trump was also called by President Biden just a few hours ago. Trump says it was a nice call involving Secret Service protection, with Biden mentioning Trump will get whatever protection he needs. Luke, I'll send it back to you.
Harrison, thanks so much. Turning now to the news involving TikTok. A long-brewing legal standoff over the popular social media app kicked off today. TikTok and its parent company ByteDance are under fire by U.S. officials over warnings that China's government could use the app to gain access to users' data. A push against the app gained momentum as lawmakers approved a foreign aid package that included provisions requiring it to be sold to another company or banned from U.S. app stores.
In response, TikTok filed a lawsuit against the Department of Justice, arguing that the law violates the First Amendment. TikTok argues that the ban will be a, quote, radical departure from the U.S. supporting open internet. Today, TikTok and the Justice Department had 25 minutes each to present their case. It's not clear when the court will reach a decision, but the law sets a deadline of January 19th for the forced sale, so it's probable that the court will rule before then.
25 minutes is a short time for arguments, but I feel like if it's TikTok, it should be like 60 seconds in vertical. I don't know.
Might give them an advantage.
Turning now to the small city of Springfield, Ohio, where baseless claims made against Haitian migrants there has had a serious impact ever since the former president said on the debate stage that migrants are, quote, eating the pets of the people that live there, which is false. Bomb threats have been called into the city hall and local schools. And new today, the city says that it's planning its canceled Culture Fest because of the threats. Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, was asked about all of this yesterday on CNN.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
Sir, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it.
Vance and Trump standing on those baseless claims, but how are voters reacting to this story and the other news made on the debate stage? Joining us now to break down the numbers is Talking Points analyst Riley Underwood. Hey, Riley.
Hey, Jake. Yeah, that's pretty interesting stuff, especially coming from Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio, talking about his home state. Let's talk about what the people are saying about the debate we just had between the two presidential candidates. Starting off, this is a poll before the debate in August. Harris, a 4-point advantage right after, not too much change. One more point for Harris within the margin of error. Here's where it gets interesting when we take a look at Iowa. This is before Kamala entered the race. Joe Biden trailing Trump by 18 points. And then when they switch over and post-debate polls in Ohio, show get a lot closer. That's only a 4-point margin of victory right now for Trump. Iowa, really interesting, and that's kind of a trend we're seeing throughout the country, getting kind of closer. It looked like Trump had it in the bag with Biden, but now we have Harris in the race. It's all getting a lot closer, and it's getting a lot tighter. Two better candidates. The voters are seeing, that's what they're saying across the board. 53% of voters said that Harris won the debate against Donald Trump that we just had. That's according to a Reuters poll. And that's a big difference compared to the other debate we had with Joe Biden and Donald Trump. That one said that just 33% said that Biden won the debate. That was right after in a flash poll that CNN put out. 67%, 2/3 said that Trump won it. So kind of a story of two different debates when we're looking at this, guys.
Really interesting to look at the polls both before and after the debate, and then also that poll in Iowa. The last time a Democrat won Iowa was when Barack Obama was at the top of the ticket. Democrats feeling a lot of that energy. Getting back to the debate, though, what are the candidates saying about potentially doing a second debate?
Well, Vice President Harris challenged Trump to another debate in October, but Trump didn't want to do it. He said that was the last time, and he said it was because the last one, he says, was rigged. Take a listen.
I can trust you on that.
Absolutely.
He had some problems with the moderators, David Muir and Lindsay Davis of ABC.
Yeah, little technical difficulties there. Sorry about that. But let's go back to Ohio. I want to start there for a second, or bring it back over there. What's the fallout been from Trump and Vance's baseless claims about this little town?
Well, it's been a lot of the focus was on the economy before, but now after the cats and dogs claims, everyone seems to be talking about immigration, guys. We saw that interview earlier with J.D. Vance on CNN. And now Donald Trump says that he's planning to visit Springfield, so I guess we'll really see if they are baseless, because he's going to have to go there and prove that these claims actually happened. That's according to NBC. He's planning to visit pretty soon, so we'll for sure be keeping our eyes on that.
Absolutely, Riley.
Riley, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Coming up for us on Talking Points, we're breaking down the swing states, how an Arizona law could change the voting rules just 50 days out from the election. We'll be right back.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner! Go?
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family. Yeah! Oh, I thought you were on my team.
back into talking points. There's no doubt that the upcoming election is going to come down to just a few battleground states, arguably the most important being Pennsylvania. Here to break down the race to 270 is Talking Points analyst Ben Bascuk. Ben, tell me about the Keystone State.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Like you said, it really is all going to come down to the Keystone State. Now, if we take a look at the map behind me, this is one that voters should really get used to seeing. Those red states leaning Republican towards Donald Trump, those blue states pretty much secured for Vice President Harris, but those gray states, those 7 battleground states are where we're going to be focusing over the next couple weeks. So let's play through a couple what-ifs real quick. So if we give the Sun Belt, meaning North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, to Donald Trump, and the blue wall in the Midwest, Wisconsin, Michigan, and go ahead and throw Nevada in there for Harris, it comes down to one state, Pennsylvania, with 19 electors. It's going to come down to it. If Harris wins Pennsylvania, that puts her at 275 electors above the threshold, and she wins the Oval. But if Trump wins Pennsylvania, he is at 282 electors, and he takes the presidency in November. Now, obviously, Pennsylvania is a state both campaigns have been spending a lot of time, a lot of energy in. Over the past couple months, Harris sat down with a local news anchor outside of Philadelphia, speaking to those independent voters leaning favorably towards those Trump economic policies. Let's take a listen to what she has to say.
You distill it. What do you understand his appeal to be, and how do you speak to his voters, or maybe people who just share his values but are open to something else?
In my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common than what separates us. That most Americans want a leader who brings us together as Americans. I think.
Yeah, so like I said, a lot of time, a lot of energy in Pennsylvania, especially right outside those metro areas in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and in those suburbs too. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, his path to 270 becomes pretty much secured. If Harris wins, it makes her job a lot easier. But that's all for me. Back to you guys at the desk.
Ben, thank you so much. All eyes right now on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Here to break down what's been happening there lately is Talking Points analyst Nando Trevisari. Nando, why are the candidates spending so much time there right now?
Well, Luke, it's as Ben mentioned, Pennsylvania's been a swing state since 2016 when Trump took office. But how about we take a look at Kamala Harris's rally at Wilkes-Barre? She talked a little bit more as to why Pennsylvania is a really important state right now for the election. Let's take a listen.
And we know ours will be a tight race until the very end. We are the underdog. We are the underdog. Let's remember that and know that. And we know how they play. We know how they play. We are the underdog, and we have some very hard work ahead of us. But here's the thing. We like hard work. Hard work is good work. And with your help, we will win. We will win.
We will win, we will win. It is a really important state right now. And again, Trump has limited options. You know, one of the key issues right now that's going on is, fracking. Trump, Kamala she's made it very clear since 2019 when she was when she was with Joe Biden. She made it really clear that she would ban fracking and that she should not ban fracking as vice president. And again, at the debate, Trump mentioned how she's been against fracking since 12 years. So it's something that's really that has to come. That's going to really narrow down.
Nando, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Alrighty, coming up for us here on Talking Points, we'll have a lot more news on politics. Stick around.
Looks like we're actually going to stay here. Sorry, having some technical difficulties tonight. But
one
one of the other biggest battleground states this November is Arizona, once again, between the presidential election and a highly contested Senate race. The state has a major political impact, but a state law making registering to vote a little bit more complicated. That's why we've got Alex Burstein in studio. He's going to explain that tonight. Alex, what do you got?
Yeah, guys, you'll remember a couple of years ago, Arizona was a big state. It's been a back and forth summer regarding the 2022 proof of citizenship law. And just this week, judges agreed it's too late to make any more changes. The law that was created around the midterm elections has hinged on different election forms as well as proof of citizenship. And now, 2 years later, challenges remain about the constitutionality of the law. In Arizona, there's two ways to register for elections. There's the state-issued registration form as well as a federal registration form, and that's where the issues have come up. This law, Arizona's House Bill 2492, forced there to be proof of citizenship for voters who use the state form, which is an uncommon practice. The AP reported just this past week that across the nation, non-citizens voting is a rare practice. The other part of this law was aimed to prevent those who use a federal registration form from voting for president. That form doesn't require proof of citizenship. The Republican-backed 2022 law has gone through a circus of legal challenges, making its way all the way up to the Supreme Court this summer. That's where a mixed ruling came. SCOTUS said that the state form could require proof of citizenship, something that attorneys have argued provides a barrier for first-time voters, but it also said that voters with the federal form can vote for president. Arizona has 32,000 of these federal-only voters, according to VoteBeat Arizona. A hearing was held this past week at the 9th Court Circuit of Appeals. Republicans arguing it's too late to change anything regarding the proof of citizenship ruling, while other officials said this law provides unnecessary barriers from voting. The conclusion, though, came based on time. Both officials and the court argued it's too late in this election cycle for any more changes.
Yeah, Alex, have there been any legal challenges to the case that's ongoing right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very complicated case, and once again, there's a lot of constitutional questions. We've seen the Campaign Legal Center, which goes on matters like this, be very opposed to the law, and their main question has been whether this is legal and whether it is a barrier to two major groups of Arizona voters, that being Latino voters and also the Native American population, which are going to be very two key demographics for Arizona voters this upcoming election, and they're saying that this law provides barriers for them for registering.
Hey, let's stick with those legal challenges here, Alex. What were the attorney's main arguments during that hearing this week?
Yeah, so you look at the Republican side of things, and this has already gone to the Supreme Court, and basically their argument was there was a stay that was given to Election Day for all this to stay as it is. So they were just arguing this has already gone to the top court in the United States. There's really nothing you can do at this point. The Democrats, though, and some other of the state officials were arguing that this is just an issue regarding people being able to vote, and especially looking at those groups like the Native Americans and Latino voters. These first-time voters sometimes are having trouble to register because of this, so that's been a big problem on the other side.
Yeah, and the reason why all this is so important is because of the polling in Arizona. How are those polls looking?
Razor thin, Luke. I mean, this is going to be one of the closer states in all of the United States. You have the polls slightly in favor right now of Donald Trump by about 1 or 2 points, but within the margin of error. And then there's also a big Senate race, as you have Ruben Gallego, who's a House representative representing the Democrats, and then Carrie Lake, who ran for governor and failed a couple of years ago in Arizona. Gallego with a slight lead, 47-44 in a recent CNN poll, but two very big races, both for president and for Senate seat there in Arizona, and going to be very interesting to watch.
Alex Burstein, thanks so much. Great to have you on. Former President Donald Trump got good news this last week, in Fulton County, Georgia. A judge dismissed 3 counts in the election interference indictment, including 2 counts brought against the former president. Talking Points analyst Peter Berry joins us in studio to talk about the implications of this. PB, what were the 2 charges that were dropped?
Hey, Jake and Luke, it's great to be on tonight. So Trump originally had 13 charges. Now he has 8. 2 of them were cut just last week. So he was filing falsified documents and conspiracy. Those are the 2 charges that were dropped. And the judge claimed that the supremacy clause takes priority, which is the federal government, the federal law takes over the state law. But here's what Trump had to say about it on Friday.
They made plea deals. The only one they don't make a plea deal with is Trump. They go after their political opponent, especially when they haven't done anything wrong. You saw more charges were dropped yesterday in Atlanta, Georgia. It's all politically inspired. It's all against their political opponent.
So what is the timeline and the future of this election case looking like now?
So former President Trump has been doing a great job at delaying this case, as he does have the immunity ruling, but the 4 out of the 19 co-conspirators pled guilty. They still have 15 more conspirators to go, and Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis also has a hearing in December after she had a conflict of interest with Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor. And according to NPR, the decision is not expected until next year. Jake and Luke, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Peter Berry, thanks so much. You ready to go to break now, Jake?
Yeah, I'm ready to go to break.
All right,
Coming up on Talking Points, concerns raised by Britain and the U.S. over Russia's involvement with Iran, what President Biden and Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke about at their meeting. Stay with us.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back. In Talking Points, President Biden and newly elected UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer met in the Oval Office last week. The question now facing Biden is whether to sign off on the use of long-range missiles by Ukraine. With more on the potential repercussions of this decision, here's Talking Points analyst Ethan Kraut. Hey, Ethan.
Thanks, Luke. As you mentioned, a major point of discussion during President Biden and Prime Minister Starmer's meeting last week was how the two countries will move forward with the handling of the war in Ukraine. Coming into the meeting, Biden signaled a newfound openness towards allowing Ukraine to fire missiles provided by the U.S. and the West into Russia. If Ukraine is allowed to use the long-range missiles, it would have the ability to strike on 150 to 200 miles within Russia. No policy changes were announced by either the U.S. or the UK following the meeting. However, Prime Minister Starmer hinted at a decision on the missiles in the near future. Friday, he said, quote, "I think if you look at both the Ukrainian situation and the Middle East, it's obvious that in the coming weeks and months, there are really important potential developments," end quote. Russian President Vladimir Putin responded to the potential change of course by the West with an ominous threat. Take a listen.
Decision is made, it will mean nothing other than direct participation of NATO countries, the United States, European countries, in the war in Ukraine. It is their direct participation, and this, of course, significantly changes the very essence of the conflict. This will mean that NATO countries, the United States, European countries, are fighting with Russia.
Hitting there that Russia would take the potential policy change as a direct act of war with the U.S. and all of NATO. National Security spokesman John Kirby said that the Biden administration is taking Putin's threats seriously, as Putin has proven himself capable of aggression and escalation. It is unclear when or even if the policy change will come. The UK appears ready to make the change. However, the US seems to need a little bit more of a push. We'll keep an eye on the situation, though, as it develops. Jake, Luke?
Ethan, thank you. The lavender haze has lifted. Coming up on Talking Points, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris after last week's debate. But how will it actually affect the election? We're going to dive into it. Stay with us.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
That someone brought to your attention that she signed it, childless cat lady. This is a phrase that you are going to hear in your dreams and your nightmares probably for many years to come.
Of course. Well, look, we admire Taylor Swift's music, but I don't think most Americans, whether they like her music or fans of hers or not, are going to be influenced by a billionaire celebrity who I think is fundamentally disconnected from the interests and the problems of most Americans. Look, when grocery prices go up by 20%, it hurts most Americans. It doesn't hurt Taylor Swift. When housing prices become unaffordable, it doesn't affect Taylor Swift or any other billionaire.
Points. That was, again, vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance railing against billionaire celebrities being involved in politics while campaigning for Donald Trump. No incongruency there, Jake?
None at all. You know, one thing I do want to note about that little clip right there is J.D. Vance being a fan of Taylor's music.
Yeah.
He said, we love Taylor's music. That was
Taylor's music.
Not on my bingo card.
No,
I just did not. It didn't. Maybe the older country albums.
Right.
But that's just something I wanted to point out. Let's get into the
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the point that he was making, though. Is there such a thing as the Swift effect? Is it real? Is it happening? If you didn't see it, this is her endorsement with all the love and hope in the world. Taylor Swift, childless cat lady, got over 10 million likes, as you might be able to see over here, and it led to over 400,000 visitors to the vote.gov website for folks to get out there, get registered to vote. A very important thing because in 2020, look at all these swing states, Jake, that were decided by less than 100,000 votes. You got states like Arizona decided by 11,000 votes. States like Georgia decided by 11,780 votes, as Donald Trump said on the phone to Brad Raffensperger.
Just need those 11,000
We love to see. That's all you need. You just got to find them somewhere. And look at this. Very important states, as Ben Bascuk mentioned earlier, 19 states in the swing state of Pennsylvania decided by less than 100,000 votes. Georgia, North Carolina, big electoral prizes up for grabs. So, how has Donald Trump responded to this news of Taylor Swift endorsing his opponent? Jake, do you want to take this one?
I would love to take this one. Donald Trump responded very simply. You guys can all read that right there. He says, I hate Taylor Swift. Personally,
Classic.
I'm not sure if this is the best strategy for the Trump campaign to go after one of the most famous and well-liked people in the country. And Luke, we talked so much about the young vote this election. Yes, it's one of the smaller voting demographics, but we've seen the Harris campaign, at least on social media, be able to sort of mobilize this young vote, to get people excited, to really dip into memes and culture. We had Brett Summer, now we have Taylor Swift coming in with it. But one thing I want to point out too is you talk about 405,000 people, that might not all be young people. Taylor Swift, her fans are probably predominantly younger people, but I know so many Taylor Swift fans who are not in that young voters. One of them being my mom. She loves Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
So, right, like it's not just a young vote thing, but I like how you pointed out the 405,000. Maybe that could have an effect.
Shout out to Jake's mom. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to all the moms out there in the world. But I'm interested. Taylor Swift can get people to go to her concerts. We've established that. People of all age groups. But can Taylor Swift get people to go to the polls for Kamala Harris on Election Day? It's a little bit less fun to go to the polls than it is to go to the Eras Tour, I will say. Just
slightly. I think my big question is, can she get her boyfriend to start scoring touchdowns for my fantasy team?
Oof.
That would be awesome.
That would be
Gotta
nice.
love Travis Kelce.
I feel like that's all the time we have. I feel like
that's all the time we have. We're talking about football. We got to get out of show.
Exactly. That's all the time we have for you this week on this episode of Talking Points. Be sure to follow us on social media at CitrusTV News and like us on Facebook if you're on Facebook. Maybe if you're young, I don't know. I'm Luke Radel.
And I'm Jake Morel. Have a great night, Syracuse.